probably should have gotten back to this mission sooner. I definitely have far too many projects running at once right now. Ah well, we're starting this clip off with Bartray gaining a kill. Just one more and he's an ace. Welcome to the ranks of the aces of this game, Bartray. Certainly a very eventful way to start things off for this clip, that's for sure. Made even more impressive by the level up he just went through. Definitely more likely I'm going to have Sarah heal Urk than Bartray right now, mostly because Urk is a good deal more fragile. And that's another damn good level up to see. Nothing for his defense, but still, he's gonna be hitting a lot harder and faster, and I can definitely appreciate that. So we've got some random bandits showing up to make things just a little more exhausting out here. Excuse me for being annoyed that they're wearing the same colors as the Laos soldiers. Their dialogue implied that they're a third faction charging into the mix, but no. In terms of gameplay, apparently there can only be one hostile force, not two different hostile forces. Guess it's a programming issue for the engine or something, though I've got to admit, I am pretty impressed in general that the game does have the option of a green faction in a fight. Someone who isn't quite the player, but isn't quite an enemy either. Well, no risk of the bandits going after the town in the far north, that's for sure. Still, we're going to have to worry about them trying to take out the town to the south. Good speed and improvement on his overall defense. Certainly not a bad level up for Lowen, even if Urk and Bartray improved more stats than he did. Definitely a lot of level ups going on right now, aren't there? And Rebecca has the first bad level up we've seen in the clip. A bit of a shame, and it probably wouldn't have felt so annoying if it wasn't for everyone else's level up so far. Well, no risk of her getting hit by one of the cavalry if he gets right next to Dorcas here. Just because I healed him doesn't mean I'm planning on letting him take more abuse. It just means I'm trying to be extra careful with this veteran from the first campaign. I feel like I'm more likely to make him a constant in our team as it continues to grow. Certainly more likely than Marcus. I know he could be more than dead weight, but that's how I've been treating him since I don't want to fall into the trap of relying on him when he's going to have some of the worst growths in the game. And it's hard to fall for that trap when you never really give him a chance whatsoever. That's right, throw yourselves at Hector. His axe is hungry for blood. And that makes 10 for Hector. Good God, those spears certainly aren't anything worth him worrying about, that's for sure. I doubt he's going to be quite so dominant against the boss, but it's nice to know that he's so far above the grunts out here that he can just steamroll right through them. Anyway, I doubt that the rain is going to screw us over all that much, considering how all the fighting seems to be going so far. Though maybe I'm just getting cocky dealing with the soldiers when the big barrier is gonna be the boss anyway. And that takes care of the last of the forward cavalry that Laos has out here. They're definitely running out of horsemen, that's for sure. Yeah, Bartray definitely deserves some healing right now. Next turn, we'll see what we can do for Rebecca. Sarah has certainly been kept busy in this mission, that's for sure. Pretty sure that Hollywood can hold this section of beach for the moment. Hopefully there won't be that many bandits that decide to get involved in this battle. But then, it's not like the various criminals we've been running into have shown all that much in the way of survival instincts. If you have, well, they've joined our crew. Two other forts down there, and I'm sure they're going to spawn even more enemies for us to deal with. Now, it might be a bad idea to have Oswin and Kai start moving from that corner. Still, I'm fairly confident we could have the time to pull back and try to protect our item tent if the enemy reinforcements start heading in that direction. I don't suppose she was ever returned, was she? On the one hand, part of me wants to get some more details about that. The other, well, I suppose going further into detail would risk raising this game's rating. Besides, the local Marquess and his son have already proven themselves to be slimy bastards. No need to keep on piling on more evil actions for the guys when they aren't gonna last long enough to reach the end game. They're just more sacrificial lambs for the Black Fang to throw at us as we wait to learn what their ultimate goal is. I'm sure it's going to involve more than just trying to start a civil war in the Lycian League. Part of me wants to chuckle that the guy thinks sheer numbers are the solution to his problems. The other remembers that absolutely every tool at our disposal has a limited number of uses, so yeah, it is a legitimate strategy. Well, what were you expecting? You grabbed someone who was pretty damn easy to manipulate. It's not like you were getting a tactical genius. Yes, he can. He's got a lot more momentum and build to be a long-lasting threat. You and your son are just speed bumps on our way to greater foes. For a guy who wants to become king of the Lycian League, he's certainly devolved to groveling in a hurry. On the one hand, I kind of appreciate the fact that we're not going to deal with all that many more enemy reinforcements, at least outside of some opportunistic pirates making landfall. On the other hand, what kind of hold on Terran's balls does Nurgle and Effidel have? It's one thing to sacrifice nameless soldiers, it's another to just leave his own damn son to rot. A very blatant puppet king, apparently. Seriously, what is even the point of being called king if you're just gonna be this easy for someone else to order around? If you aren't the highest authority in the land, then you aren't really a king, in my opinion. But then I suppose I'm a far more moral person than the likes of the villains we're gonna run into in this game, and probably most of the series at the very least. So, I probably can't hold them to my standards. We certainly haven't seen much nuance so far, that's for sure. Well, I'll be damned. The boss is willing to move around in this mission. That's certainly quite the change from the usual boss behavior in this game, and a lot of the previous ones, apparently. Wish I could say that makes me respect Eric a bit. Unfortunately, his generic villain personality really ruins whatever respect I might have had for his willingness to get out of defensive ground and take a more proactive role in taking out the heroes. As a side note, I'm far more annoyed than I probably should be that Marcus managed to secure a kill there. Definitely more annoyed by that than Matthew getting hit by an attack that on paper had just a 27% chance of hitting him. He gained a lot less experience for that kill than anyone else would have. And that's another kill for Marcus, which means less potential experience for someone else. Well, here's the rain for whatever that's worth. Yeah, 7 enemies left. We've definitely got the bastards outnumbered for the moment. Not really much point in checking that screen, though, when the game itself has that little counter on the lower right. But I suppose those numbers don't mean much since we still have to run towards them. Funny how, even if the enemy counts as mobile, they typically wait for us to get closer unless they have a pre-designated target like a village to burn. Also, kind of confused that we only saw one pirate spawn from down south. Ah well, if the enemy isn't going to gain all that many reinforcements, then who am I to complain? Really hoping the boss doesn't pursue Marcus. Less because I'm worried he'll get killed, and more because I don't want Marcus to gain the experience of killing a boss. Speaking of experience, time for Sarah to do some more healing. For Sarah, that's a pretty good level up, though I can't help wishing there was some means for Sarah to go on offense to take advantage of just how high her speed and magic are. Right, nobody fresh spawned here yet. Kind of feels strange that there are 3 forts there, but only 1 pirate spawned from them so far. Maybe that's more of an issue when you replay the game on a higher difficulty or something, and they would more constantly come from there, but we just need to deal with what we actually see, not what could have been. And let's keep an eye on those forts in case I'm wrong and even more of them pop up. place your bets. Will Eric go after Hector or Lowen? Anyone else left unmoved on the team? Yeah, just Marcus, huh? I got that sense back when you first started talking about Hector before the battle even began. Well, all things considered, you don't seem all that worthy of praise here. Especially when you're such a slimy asshole. Well, he has enough skill to be counted as a boss. I suppose that's something, but that's all he has, so ironically, he's more of a brute than Hector is. I suppose I appreciate the warning, lady, but if all you're going to do is report the weather on this team, I'm sure there are other members out here who could do that much. I mean, dear God. And son of a bitch, more pirates have just spawned. Ah, well, at least Guy isn't too far out of position, and Eliwood should be able to hold the other beach if they go that direction. And that's another kill for Urk. Again, really interesting to note that everyone other than Marcus gains quite a bit of experience with each strike. If it's a general store, why are there only 3 products sold here? And why are 2 of them completely magic-focused? Ah, well, I suppose Urk could use a fire spell book. Good thing I got a cure staff as well, considering how often Sarah has to heal everyone. She's certainly been earning her keep in this mission, that's for sure. Well, crap. Was definitely hoping that Lowen could be luckier than that. Ah, well, at least Rebecca was lucky enough to finish the bastard. Well, it's either become a prisoner or die, and I'm pretty sure you don't want to die. Though considering how many other characters, both named and unnamed, we've killed just to get this far, kind of seems odd that he was captured. Seriously, 247 other people we've taken down to 0 health, and this is the only survivor? All because he's a villain who will appear again in, well, the previous game, which is later in the timeline. It's kind of funny that the first game ever released outside of Japan in this series, and it is a prequel to the immediate other game. Kind of an odd decision, really. Why not release a standalone story worldwide instead? Not that it's a horrifically bad decision or something. The callbacks aren't anything that require you to do your homework, mostly because the storytelling in this game is pretty bare bones. I just find it strange is all. Nice to see that Lowen managed to survive despite taking a bad hit from the boss earlier. Again, it's absurd just how much stronger the bosses are compared to everyone else we run into around here, and just how many bosses there are in the game. With the exception of a bare few early missions in Lynn's campaign, every mission has had a boss. Thankfully, just one per mission, but still, really annoying that one character in each mission feels like such a difficulty spike compared to everyone else in a tactics-focused game. Good. Definitely appreciate being able to stockpile some weapons at this stage of the game. I kind of wish we had the ability to do this sort of thing earlier on, but no. We only recently gained a man who was able to deal with an extended inventory, a guy who for some odd reason was shown to lose some bits of his merchandise randomly before we recruited him, but now we'll keep track of everything perfectly. I'm sure the losing stuff thing was supposed to be some kind of endearing character trait to make him more fun or something, but it just doesn't fit with the role he was actually given, and he's about as inactive in the game as the old lady we consult back at camp. His one real trait is something that never crops up again. It's hard to really give a damn about it, or him, or really most of the cast. That makes 14 for Rebecca. She's certainly been proving herself to be more dangerous than Ellie would, that's for sure. Our main character for the campaign only has 7 kills so far. Sure, part of that has to do with how he's been placed in these missions, and part is due to the fact that Rebecca can more easily get away with finishing off already injured foes. Still, I can't help finding it funny that the person this campaign is supposed to revolve around just doesn't feel like anything special both in and out of the battlefield. He is just as generic and forgettable as they come, whereas both Lynn and Hector are both lords as well, the same class of unit, and they feel distinctive enough to be memorable and interesting in their own ways, even if the story doesn't go all that far into depth with them. Definitely feels like what little is left of the enemy on this map is just cleanup at this point. Nothing to feel worried about, though maybe I'm just getting too cocky or something. Yeah, just 2 on this side of the map, and then the 2 pirates that spawn for the sake of trying to catch us off guard. Really hard to find it in me to be all that worried about what we're gonna have to deal with when the enemy is pretty thoroughly outnumbered by us at this point and they've already lost their boss. I suppose I could fast forward the footage or something, but Well, despite my cockiness, it certainly feels like I'm pushing it with Lowen here, and oof. He's gonna make it, but it's close. You do not get much closer than that. It would certainly have been embarrassing to have to start the mission from the top again if he just lost 1 more HP there. I swear, I have a bit of a frustrating skill level with the Fire Emblem games, in that I have a solid understanding of the rules and how to arrange troops, but it feels like sometimes I rely a bit too much on luck. And that's part of why I've never managed to beat this game and just end up rage quitting through most of my attempts despite liking what they do for the most part. So, we'll see if LPing it actually lets me get all the way to the ending. I would have thought you'd mention the fact that you've worked with Wesker and some of the others on the team. The way you worded things just felt pretty weak, as if the only reason we should work together is because of Elliewood, but I suppose it's all just a quick and easy way for these two to interact with each other without really going into any depth. And good God, there is so little depth and so much character interaction in this game. It's not like I'm expecting all that much, but I really would have liked it if Urk, for example, got to interact some more with maybe Dorcas or some of the other veterans of Lynn's campaign. Just something. Anyway, Priscilla is our second healer, and she's a lot more mobile than Sarah is. So unless we run into situations where it feels like we need two different medics on the team at once, I'm pretty sure Sarah is going to be sitting on the bench from here on. Bit of a shame, she's damn good at what she does, but nothing we can really do about that. Our team has already grown to a pretty cumbersome size after all at this point, and I would not be surprised if we had to start choosing who gets to come with us in all the missions after this. Well, something has given him confidence despite his iffy tactical skill and how easily he does what Fidel wants. I'm pretty sure he's more than just a lecher based on what we managed to hear about him so far. It's just that this game's rating means there's no way the writers are going to explicitly say that he's a rapist and sexual murderer. Not quite a full heal, but it certainly took Lowen out of the danger zone, that's for sure. %30 chance and Matthew still got hit. Ah well, at least the axe user is pretty much dead at this point. It shouldn't take too long to finish him off. Kind of a crappy level up from that, though. I certainly feel like their stats Matthew needs more at this point than speed. And that makes 15 for Lowen so far. I certainly pushed my luck with him, but so far we aren't paying for that. And he's certainly been proving himself to be someone we can rely on in a fight, and certainly getting better at a good rate. That's 13 for Hector so far, now to just deal with the two pirates. Son of a bitch! We need to wait for our next turn before we can do anything about these two guys. They just aren't in range for anyone else to touch. And most of the team is on the wrong end of the map to deal with them anyway. I guess this mission is going to run on to the next clip as well. Hopefully it won't take me nearly as long to get around to the next clip as it did for this one. But unfortunately, I've been doing Fire Emblem and Pokemon when the mood strikes me, not really treating them as priority projects. Kinda says something that both are Nintendo games, and my opinion of Nintendo has kinda soured. Maybe that's part of the big slowdown for these two projects, and why I felt I needed to do other projects as priority instead. Well, I suppose it doesn't matter how long the journey takes, so long as you keep chipping away at them and make progress. Yeah, that should about do it for this turn, and with that, the clip. Again, just need to wait for the pirates to make landfall and then we're done here.